to turn my sound on. Okay. All right, there we go.
Okie dokie. So you ready for your reading?
I am. I'm so excited.
Yay, me too, me too. So I read your form, and you were just pretty much kind of saying, look, give me clarity, give me focus around how you can be the best version of yourself. Would you say that's still true for you? Have you got anything going on right now that you want to look at pertaining to the chart? What would you say your biggest challenge is right now?
Um, I mean, probably, yeah. Just overall, understanding my chart better. Um, as far as uh like biggest challenge right now, um, I guess kind of overwhelm, and um just you know kind of reining myself in, but also like not right, like not like too much, and not like getting knocked off course because of life, and okay, well, that's happening and that's happening, but like I can deal with that even still, as I'm uh heading in the right direction, instead of like just completely like veering off course. Because I can tend to do that. I can tend to get stressed, and just like something comes up that seems too difficult, and I just like, all right, fine, I just give up, and like just deal with this, and I'll give up on my dream, and that kind of stuff. So I've gotten a lot better about that over the years, but it's still kind of that knee-jerk reaction. So, and it's been coming up a lot lately, because a lot of life has been coming up lately.
Okay, so when you say a lot of life, what do you mean by that? Do you mean for you personally? Do you mean for people, external to yourself? What does that mean?
um kind of a household, so not world at large, but I mean there's that too. I'm very connected to Israel, so that's been hitting hard, and but just it's kind of that, like, all bad things happen in threes kind of concept, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, the fridge goes out again this year. Now we just like, okay, fine, we'll just suck it up, pay the money, and buy a new fridge. And then like right after that, oh, okay, this happens, and and everything, especially right now, seems to be in this like monetary zone. So not just, you know, uh like a few months ago, right, it was like all this traveling and stuff, but it wasn't like, it was just, okay, well, it's a lot of traveling. But now it's like all this monetary stuff, and um the kind of that final straw that just really tossed me over the other day was uh everything, price of everything's just going up, and so our mortgage company once again uh is trying to screw us by finagling, and so now we have to pay more, starting next year and everything. And um we're already like doing okay, but now it's going to be like, okay, now we're just going to be keeping our head above water. And so my husband, of course, was getting frustrated, and was like, all right, it might just really be that time, next year I just have to get a job. He's been great these years. He's been able to make enough to cover everything, so that I don't have to work, and I can do work on my thing. And I've always said, hey, if at any point I have to, then I have to. So I'm not gonna, but I certainly don't want to. And especially it's like that moment where I'm like, I'm this close with my business, and then if I have to like, so it just felt like world ending, and
Yeah.
it took me a minute to, okay, all right, I can, what would I tell a client essentially? It's, okay, well, if this is really something you want to do, okay, you have to do that, but you figure out a way to fit this in and keep moving forward. And but it's just, so I guess, in a sense, the life is money issues.
Mm.
And yeah, so
okay, cool. So let's look at your chart.
all right.
Let's get it up on the screen, which obviously you do know your chart, but it's always good for me to have it up on the screen. Can you see it all there? Yeah,
I can, yeah, and I'm very visual, so it helps me too.
okay.
And I'm sorry, do you hear the banging?
I don't
It's not
think so.
bothering?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. All I can hear is the lawnmower in somebody's
Okay.
garden.
Okay. Well, we have the workers. We're like halfway through building our deck right now.
Yeah.
Or redoing it. It was horrible. But I want to be upstairs, so but I wanted to make sure it wasn't too distracting for you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that I do my readings is that I will take in the information in the detail that you've given me on your form. Then I just like to just look at the chart and just look at it and look at the planets and just really spend a bit of time with it, and then just see what kind of comes out to me. And because obviously there's so many layers and so much depth that we can go into when it comes to the chart, but ultimately what I want to do is give you something that you can take away with you and work on, something that's going to be useful to you. And so I've taken some notes. I'm just going to go in that vein, and with whatever with whatever we are here to respond to together through your chart, it will just take that natural movement forward. Okay, so the first thing is that this is a chart of a leader. Like, you are a leader through and through. You've got the 31, which is democratic leadership. This is the gate of the leader. This is the voice of the people. This is unifying people around a central core concept. This really is about you stepping into your role as a leader, embodying the fact that you are a leader and you are here to lead, by being in alignment with yourself. When you are in true alignment with yourself, the people will vote you as the leader. You will be the leader. And because you're a 6th line as well, which there's leadership in the 6th line, which you're 40 now. So over the next 10 years, the next 10 years are going to be really important for you, really stepping into that role model energy that you carry. But you've also got the 3420, which we know is the channel of the pure manifesting generator, but there's leadership here too. And then the 3410, there's leadership here too. And so really really being aware that this is your path, and equally it's your path because it's your definition. And so there's going to be challenges. This is your soul curriculum. And so how you spend the next 10 years moving into your Chiron return, which we know is sort of like, that main peak for a line 6, because that's when you come off the roof. It's like, right, how are you going to spend the next 10 years embodying the energy of this role model and this leader that you are here to be? And of course, it all comes with preparation, and it comes with allowing yourself to be the fulfillment of your purpose, that true authentic identity, that person who is in alignment. And we know with the 6 lines that from age 30 to 50, it is being on the roof, and it's about healing. It's about really healing everything that has come in that line 3 phase of your life, and bringing yourself into this place of alignment. And so one of the things that is going to be really important for you is to really be aware of, number one, where are you really holding conditioning and patterns of behavior. And we're going to look at that today, and looking at, the conundrums that you've got in this chart, because ultimately, you are a manifesting generator with, a practically full sacral center. You are a single definition. Like, this is energy, this is speed, this is power. You are a powerful leader. It is who you are. It is what you are here for. And in order for you to fulfill that role, you have to have the energy. And so it's not just about physical energy. It's about being in integrity with your authenticity, with your physical energy, with your moral integrity, energetic integrity. It's like these are the key phases, key pieces for you to really hone in on. But the number one thing that I feel is the most important for you to look at is your physical health. Now, I always ask the question, how is your physical health? Because that really gives me an idea of where the healing is to come from. Because if you think about it, I was in the supermarket this morning, and this sentence, or not even a sentence, this is what came to me. And I really feel like this came to me to tell you. I've got it written here in my phone. Honoring the body as the vessel of your purpose. Honoring the body as a vessel of your purpose. You will not be able to fulfill your purpose if your physical body doesn't have the capacity to do all that this manifesting generator, this time bender, came here to do. So tell me what's coming up for you, because I can see it.
Yeah, it's just that definitely resonates, first of all of that. And I just, it's interesting how, I've been learning about this, and working to step into the leader, and kind of grasp that there's something about that, even just the word, that just makes my insides like shrivel up and high, like it. And I know it's probably a bit because I have authority issues, right? And probably a bit because I've never been one to want to lead, to be, I get, in a sense, to have that responsibility, I guess, maybe. And then, so there's just this whole ball that I've been, working on, but it's still, I realize when it doesn't come up so much when I think about it, but when I hear like somebody else talking to me about that purpose, I still get this reaction. And then, yeah, just about my physical health, that's definitely resonates, because, and it's something that I know I've been getting, more and more signs, you know, saying I need to pay attention to that um in my life, and especially, yeah, now, to prepare, uh and because I'm not, I have energy, but not like I have energy to sit here and work all day long,
Mhm.
but I don't have energy. Like, what, a week or two ago, we went out to the state fair, um and it was an hour drive up there, and of course it took us like an hour to park, uh and then we walked around for what, 2 to 3 hours, um and it, it I was fucking exhausted. Like, I
Mm.
was so exhausted. My feet hurt, my legs hurt for like 3 days after that. And I'm like walking around on fairly flat ground for just a couple of hours, like not even strenuous, like just,
Mm.
and we sat down for a bit, we ate,
Mm.
um, so there's that level of energy and that level of um unfitness, if you will, if you know what I'm saying with that. And I do, my I've gotten to, since getting back from traveling and everything, I've gotten fairly good about doing my yoga, at least almost
Yeah.
every day.
Mhm.
um and I know, I mean, there's just no question I feel better doing
Mhm.
that. And I've
Mhm.
gotten, and since getting back from traveling, I've gotten back into my going to the chiropractor
Mhm.
uh regularly, now that we have insurance again, but anyway, uh so that, a couple things like that, but I see there's a lot more internal, that, and I know, uh over the past few years, I've been, getting more in tune with my body, in and out, and how I work and my signals, all these things. So uh I now recognize the couple different signals that my body will give when I'm not doing well.
Mhm.
And it's, it can be like you're about to get sick, or something's just not right, or I need to something, but it's, and it's just a constant, you
Mhm.
know it okay, I feel like last night and this morning, it's like I feel it. I feel it in my ears, and I feel it in my what is it, uh whatever glands, whatever, anyway, that kind of like swell up when you get,
Mhm.
and so I'll do that. So I'll, maybe, you know do a couple things, maybe try and, take better care, but I can tell, like, there's something inside that is going on that hasn't fully been addressed, that I think is, of course, you get a cold and all that kind of stuff, but I think this is something.
It's emotional.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
emotional. Yeah, it's emotional, and so it's really addressing what's going on for you on an emotional level. So if you like you've got an open spleen, and so your open spleen is basically letting you know that something's going on. But what
Mhm.
happens, because you keep going in and out and in and out, and you keep feeling like you're fighting something off, just
Right,
even
yes, exactly,
using
yeah.
that language of fighting, there is an emotional internal fight that has been going on inside of you that is calling for you to correct. Okay, not correct, for you to heal,
Yeah,
and for you to release the emotions around that fight. Does that make sense?
that does. Yeah, I mean, I can't, like you said, nothing specific, like, well, I don't know what, but it does. I mean, because this has been for years now, and
Yeah.
it's, and regardless of getting sick and, you know, any medications or anything that it's just there. And
Yeah,
it's right, this constant fighting off and
yeah,
okay, feel better for a little bit, but then, you know, it comes and yeah, so okay.
yeah. Okay, so if we look at your chart here, I'm going to show you a couple of places and a couple of things that just for you to sort of like take on board. And then we can start actually looking at, well, what are those things that are looking to be healed and released? Because when we hold on to emotional energy, it makes us tired. And so the way that I explain it is, throughout our lives, we will have experienced loads of different traumas. And we have the big T trauma, which is, you know, your abuse, your car accidents, divorce, you know, all those big life things that happen. But then you have small T trauma. And small T trauma can be anything from being told off as a child, you know, being humiliated in class at school, you know, falling out with a best friend in the playground, and us not being able to emotionally deal with those circumstances. And so we make those circumstances mean something about ourselves that are not true. And then once we do that, we are out of alignment with our natural state. And so what happens with any kind of trauma is that you will have in your energy field, we all have in our energy field, like little amarans that are holding on to different traumas. And those traumas are almost like bubbles, and in energetic bubbles. And in those bubbles will be things like emotions. What emotions did you feel at that particular time? What did you make that mean? It will hold on to smells, tones. It can even hold on to the things that were in your stomach. Like anything pertaining to that trauma gets held in this like energetic bubble, so that you don't experience that thing again, so that your body, so that your subconscious can then tell you, don't go into that because you are going to experience X, Y, and Z. And that's why we get triggered, you see, because we're holding on to all of that information to protect ourselves. And so where your energy would be more vibrant and you'd have more physical energy, what's happening is these little amarans are holding on to all these little traumas, and it becomes heavy. It's sort of like, you know, it's almost like weighing down the aura. And so if we look at your chart, so you've got the 51 here. We know that that's called the gate of shock in traditional human design. We also know it's called the gate of initiation. In you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah.
The gate of initiation in quantum human design. So, you know, people with a gate 51, I've got it in my Chiron. I know it really well. Like, we are going to have these experiences in our lives that are somewhat shocking and somewhat difficult to deal with. And so any event that you have experienced in your life that could come under that banner, anything that you have not fully healed, those things will be in your energetic field. So are there any things that you can think of, whether it's a big T trauma or a small T trauma, that you can think of that hasn't been healed?
Well, as far as you know, big T, you know, I'm still trying to or well, still dealing with a car accident that I had when I was a kid, or that I was in when I anyway, that uh you know, the when I went to the chiropractor, uh initially, you know, after the accident, to x-rays, they said, oh yeah, it just straightened your spine. Like, you know, so I've been ever since I was well, I guess 14 or 15 when that happened. Um uh, constant back pain, and various, physical issues, and pains from that, have, depending on things that I've done in different, chiropractors and whatnot, it's gotten better. And but then, like I was doing really good, but then, you know, with having not having a job for a while, we didn't have insurance, so I wasn't going. And so now it's like, okay, well, now I'm not as bad as it was, but, kind of have to redo a little bit, to get back up to not being in some level of constant pain. And it's not, bad right now, but it is constant. So there's that I've, still been dealing with for years, and when you were, just talking about little T, and just, yeah, the things that people might say or do or something, when you were a kid, and or even not, a kid. And it kind of started this thread of thought, of thinking about not too much of how I was treated, but just things that people said to me when I was younger. And I think also in my position in the family, and I'm the youngest of three, and now kind of thinking about it, even taking that into my acting out as a teenager and young adult, just this sorry, I'm like,
Okay, it's okay, it's okay.
It's even hard to say, this powerlessness.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I see, beholden to everybody, and oh well, and I was very smart and very outgoing, and I mean, you can see it in my chart. It's like, I just said what I like, I just spoke, and people would laugh at me, and oh, this. And I'm like, and I realize, of course, now looking back at it, well, they were the stupid ones, because they didn't, like, but they didn't get it. So, I, oh, ha, ha, little kid, all this. And and just stuff like that. And then thinking, like, in my youth, and pretty much up until my 30s, I, once I was old enough, as a older teenager, I, most people, society would say I rebelled, and I, was a wild child and all this. But, and I realized that I never really kind of put all of this together, but that was me saying, this is one aspect that I can control. I'm really good at this, and I can control this. This is where my power is then. And so this is where I'm going to lean into, because this makes me feel powerful, having control over men, have the whole, sexual thing, and so that made me feel powerful. Like, I had power to control something over my life and something outside of my life, right? Like men, okay. So yeah, I never put all that together like that. Yeah.
Well, look, your south node is in the 34. This is, from the age of, from the moment you were born to to your Uranus opposition is between 38 and 42 years old. And your theme, your starting off theme, has been all around power. And so because everything is on the spectrum, it's going to be that experience of disempowerment the experience of unhealthy power.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And really coming into that state of equilibrium where the healing around the disempowerment has been worked on now, because, you know, this is where you are coming into your empowered leadership. And this is where you're doing the preparation work. And so it's really, you know, going back and addressing the disempowered Amaran that is still stuck in your energy field, that is still fighting for that power. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, you know, really going into that as a theme for your healing work, because you're flipping over to the 20, you see, so you've got the full channel here. And so, and this 20 is like, this is metamorphosis. This is the butterfly that has done the work. This is where the butterfly has been patient inside the cocoon, growing. Yeah. And then the fighting then becomes the fighting that is coming out of the cocoon in this empowered state.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a very apt visual, actually, of like the feeling inside of me. Yeah.
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 And that's what all these little Amarans are doing. They are fighting for that power still, because they are still stuck in those disempowered states.
Right.
Yeah. So how's all that? I mean, obviously I can see that that's landing, and so how's that feeling for you?
I mean, yeah, it definitely resonates. And yeah, that 34, that how you described that's like, oh yeah, that's a perfect explanation of my, you know, life up until you know, mid 30s. So yeah, it definitely resonates. And I see, I said, you know, aware of all these different pieces, but I've never seen it come together like, oh, this is all related. um and just with my reaction there, it's like, you know, okay, clearly that is, you know, the power is um a wound, you know, a trauma for me, but it's also purpose, right? Yeah, and not power for, you know, power's sake as a leader, but, you know, leader, there is power, you know, there, I mean, it's you know, it kind of goes together.
It's all
um
tied in, yeah.
right. And so it could be, you know, a clear relation to why my insides just do this at the thought
Yeah.
of being at that power state, right, and in that position, whether it's that title or a different title, or, you know, whatever, whether I'm using that word or leader or not, you know, um but I really like that image of the butterfly, and like that is actually really helpful. It's like, yeah, I'm in at that point of, right, I've done the 34, I've done all of this back and forth in the right, no power and wrong power, and you know, explored that, you know, spectrum. And but I'm still in the cocoon, and it's a and you got to bust out. I mean, it's a protective thing, right? It's strong. It's like, you know, but you got to, you know, don't want things in it, but now you got to get out of it. And it's, you know, and it's interesting. And it just hit me, and I don't know exactly what the time frame is. But I know it started after we were here in the house. So somewhere uh you know, in the last 6 years, and it's been so let's say for the last 3 years approximately, um I have been in this state of my body in this constant fighting off, you know, what I was just assuming was a physical, you know, something physical. Um, and uh, you know, so what that would put me at about 36-ish. Um, but I get also probably right about the time where I was starting to get really serious and dig in to my business, in a more coaching aspect, not just you know, general healing or you know, crystal jewelry or something, you know, like that. So, and again, I'm not entirely sure of the timeline, but I see there's probably a correlation with all of that in the in timing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is good to really do a timeline of events, and you can either start from when you were born to present day or just work your way backwards and just put in the ages that you were when you remember certain events happening, because then you can start to see patterns. Because
Mm.
what happens is, from the moment that we have a small t trauma, you see, not everything that we experience is going to negatively impact. We can have experiences that don't feel very good, but we don't hold on to anything. We just carry on and it doesn't affect us and it doesn't bother us. It does really depend on the kind of person that we are and how we interpret situations and what we how we how we experience a situation and then what we make that mean about ourselves. And so there will be meanings there that you will have created around those scenarios. And so what happens is, now that you're out of alignment, you've created a meaning about yourself that is not true. Yeah. You are then, that's the energy that you're putting out. So you're then going to experience another situation, which is going to confirm the meaning that you've made about yourself.
Right.
And so what happens is that compounds, and that's how a pattern is formed. Because then we are, you know, different person, different circumstance, but same meaning. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you can do those timelines, and what can happen is you can see the pattern, and sometimes the pattern can just shatter because you've spotted it, or sometimes you have to go in and do some deeper work around it. And so doing that timeline work, I find it's what I would do with my clients if I was working on a healing capacity with them in that respect. Because then you can just see what's going on and you can see the circumstances and the meanings and so on and so forth. And sometimes, like I said, you can look at those and go, oh, well, that just is not true. And, you know, the thing can collapse. But then other times that meaning can be so strong and so ingrained that even though you can consciously see the pattern, until you actually go in and do some healing work around it, releasing the stored emotions and bringing your little self back into equilibrium, the pattern doesn't shift entirely, doesn't shift fully. But if you look at your south node over here, which the 9 is about focus, and so where have you been focusing on around, what have you been focusing on around your power? And so you will have had just like this intense focus around your disempowerment.
Yeah.
But then if we look at where you're moving to, so you're moving into this place of, just, this coming out, and then this 16, which is all about zest and excitement and enthusiasm, but it's also about skills, and it's also about that repetitive action of taking that skill to mastery. So for me, what this is all about is you taking this theme of empowerment and power to mastery, and that's then what you are going to lead with. You're going to lead with not just your own power, but this mastery of empowerment, which then can potentially be what you are sharing with your people, this theme of empowerment.
Yeah. When you just said that, that just felt so good. Just like right here, just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
like
getting goosebumps. I've got goosebumps.
um yeah, and I see that, and I see too of like why it's been such like in my uh journey of building my business and all, and the various iterations and directions I've you know tried to go in and everything. Empowerment has always been there, like whether an underlying or overt like focus, it's like always just, and not on a conscious level for me of like, oh, that's a good topic, kind of thing, but just like that's something that has to be, right? Like we need that. So it's just, interesting then, it's seeing all of this and it come together, and it's like, oh well, of course that would be an underlying in anything that I would naturally be doing. So that's kind of cool. And then when you were talking too, sorry, I was not expecting to get all emotional. Uh it hit me that within uh this and um you know conditioning and all that, the little T's, um a lot of um not feeling supported in I don't say in my passions, but in my passions, I guess, for lack of a better term, and in various things that I did, and not that my parents weren't supportive in a lot of ways, which they were, but um there were those few things when I was younger, and then it just kind of got to be more and more as I grew up, that I just didn't feel supported. And I when you were talking, it hit me this like, well, that can also go into underlying the leadership issue, because if I don't feel like I have support under me, well, how can I stand up here if and not that that has to come from people or certain people anyway, and that's something that I have actually just recently uh gotten to a point, which I think is so interesting. It's like I finally got to this point where I really felt like, I don't need my family to support me in my business. I don't need them to understand. I don't need them to think I'm not crazy or whatever. I don't need that, um, you know, to do what I'm supposed to do, and to have my business. And then like really like right after I got to this point, and like, you know, it was really that kind of like, yeah, I don't need that, you know. And then here my family calls like, we need your help. Like, you know, and my coaching services. So that was just an interesting, but right, just seeing that that could also be playing into that wound,
Yeah,
the bigger wound, you know, as a whole. Yeah.
absolutely. And if we think about what is, you know, what's the most supportive part of the body? The spine, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
if you're having issues with your spine,
Right.
then
Mm-hmm.
that's a reflection of the support that you don't feel you have, that is a reflection of the thoughts becoming emotions which are stored in the body, and the body, the back, holding onto that emotion of not feeling supported.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we actually look at the body is simply simply showing the symptoms of the thoughts and the emotions that we've been holding on to. And so typically when we think we are sick or there is something wrong, actually we've already been sick, and the sickness has been the thought processes and the self-attacking thoughts and all of that kind of stuff that has just come into the body as a manifestation of those thoughts and those meanings and those narratives that we have just told ourselves for so long. And if you look at over here on your incarnation cross, you know, the 44 is prone to holding on to the past. Like it's really prone to holding on to those experiences of the past and not letting them go. And then the 24 also has the propensity to do that. And it's also this rationalizing less than what you deserve. It's this staying in that lower expression of your worthiness. And we know that with the open ego, that there are going to be worthiness issues and that whole thing around having to prove yourself. And so again, all those things start tying in together. And then when you've got the 10 here, like the low expression of the 10, like the 10 is all about self-love. And if you look at where it's placed in your chart, in your Neptune, which is your spiritual purpose, like your spiritual purpose is all about self-love. And so how can you be that empowered leader if you are not in that healthy expression of your own love of self?
Right. And that, yeah, you know, going back to you know, youth and young adult and everything, that was like non-existent. Like
Yeah.
from like I won't say quite loathed myself, but you know, there was no worthiness, no, you know, no, I'm here for me, do anything, you know, for me outside of whatever I need to do for me to do for other people, right? So I can do for,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, there was a complete lack of worthiness inside and
Yeah.
perceived from outside as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then, you
definitely.
know, you've got this completely open emotional solar plexus where you're taking in the emotions of other people, you're thinking they're your own, you're amplifying those. And so not only are you going through all of those experiences, but you're holding on to all of these emotions of other people's that actually don't belong to you, but you think they're your own. And so you're making those emotions mean something about you too. And then, as I was saying about the 10 in the low expression, that's blame. So one of the things that I would really look at is who or what are you blaming from the past that you are holding on to from the past longer than you should, that you're not letting go, because the theme of the open spleen is this theme of not letting go. And so holding on to patterns of the past, what are you holding on to that actually it's time to let go of now? Because you've got the 42, and the 42 is about completion. And it's, if you look at like if you look at, where you're heading and what you're building and what you're creating, like what I said here, which was honoring the body as the vessel of your purpose, like that is right. Okay, so what is your body holding on to? What is it that you have not let go of? What is it that needs to be brought to completion so that you can really get into the juiciness of all this sacral energy and really feel that sacral energy, that embodiment of sacral energy, like physically feeling it in the body? Because when you start feeling that sacral energy, it is just like it's electric. And then you're not going to be saying yes to things like this 29. Like you've probably said yes to a lot of things that you should have said no to, a lot of things that you felt like you had to do because you were responsible. This 50, you're going to feel really responsible for other people and feel guilty if you're letting them down. And you've probably not being able to hold boundaries strong enough, and people have just walked all over you. And then that can lead into this whole thing of blaming other people, or even self-blame. And so you got those patterns going on, which all intertwine, which sound like a lot, but actually, once you start tackling one thing, like the other pieces are just going to sort of, start to fall away. And you start working on those little traumas, and almost like these things that are in your charts, you're not going to have to go and address everything, because it's like a tabletop. Like you've got the legs, there's the tabletop is like the core issue, and you've got the legs. Once you knock down one leg, it starts to become a little bit, and then you knock down another leg. Do you know what I mean? And so it sounds like, oh my gosh, there's loads of healing work to do here. But actually, if you start giving yourself some focused attention, start focusing your attention on the things that the things that are coming up for you first, and working on those, and just giving yourself that time to work through them. But one of the things that I think, since you spoke about having the car crash, I would probably say you might want to look at that first, more because when you experience a big trauma like that, and especially because you're still having physical issues, what that tells me is that you're still holding the emotion of that car crash. And so whatever you were feeling when you came out of that car crash, whatever thoughts were going round your head about you, about who was driving?
My mom. It was just, we were on our way for a vacation, and it was a tiny, as far as car crashes goes, a tiny little low impact crash. She was driving, I was in the passenger seat, car full of luggage and whatnot, but yeah, on our way down to Florida for vacation.
Yeah, so it would just be shock, that you will still have the shock stored in the body. And anything, any thoughts or any emotions that came about at the particular time of the car crash, and afterwards, the thoughts that were going through your head. And so I just always think the best way to address all of these things is with EFT. Do you do EFT for yourself?
I've done the through the CMM, you know, when we did
Mm.
the keys, and I keep every so often, I was like, oh, you know what, I should revisit those. And I haven't, and you know, and I'm familiar with it a little bit before, even before getting into that, but it's one of those things, like I think it's brilliant and it's great. I just never end up actually, you know, doing it for myself. So, but yeah, I agree. As you were talking and everything, I was remembering that and going, you know, I should revisit, you know, go back and do that video on the empowerment and, you know, self-love and self-worth and
Yeah.
the um
So in EFT, Gary Craig, the person who created EFT, he used to say, oh, what did he call it? He used to call it the personal peace procedure. And the way that that works is basically writing down any event, anything that happened in your life that you know that didn't make you feel good, that any event that still is carries some kind of pain or resentment or unforgiveness, or you know, you get the theme, and write all of those down and just start working on those one by one.
okay.
And let me tell you, when I did that in 2008, like literally, and I did work with somebody on my, like I worked with an EFT practitioner on my big T trauma, but then I would work on that stuff myself. And every single day I was tapping, probably about 10 times a day. I would tap and tap and tap. And I promise you, in 3 months' time, my whole life totally transformed. It was like I literally woke up one day and I was a completely different person. This
Wow.
whole heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And so like this time of healing for you, like this is it, Amaran, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the preparation, and this is what's going to support your business, because ultimately your business isn't a business without you.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
your physical energy and your alignment is what your business needs. And so using, I mean, and use any other tools that you've got, you know, anything that you've got in your toolbox, like use it. But you've got the map here. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, let's look at the shocking events. Let's look at the events. Let's look at the disempowerment. Let's look at the blame. Let's look at everywhere where I dropped a boundary, where every time I said yes when I should have said no,
Yeah.
bringing things to completion, any area of intimacy that you had with somebody that was disempowered intimacy, like, you know, it's like that, it's all here, in the charts. And
Yeah.
this is how you're gonna heal what you've been fighting, because your body is fighting, it's fighting to get back into equilibrium, to come back into homeostasis.
Mhm.
And so when you go to the chiropractor, and I know because I'd go to the chiropractor, you know, every 3 weeks for something, and I would always go back, like I would come out completely free, and then within 3 weeks time my whole body was distorted again. But then as soon as I went in and started working on an emotional level, I didn't have to go to the chiropractor anymore, because I
Wow.
was aligned, and I stayed aligned because the emotions weren't pulling me physically out of alignment again.
Mhm. Wow. That's pretty impressive, I will say. Like that's significant.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was significant. Amaran, it was huge. I used
mhm.
to take 4 Panadol a day, 4 times a day, for migraines and headaches and lower back pain and a twisted knee and shoulder, like everything. Like my immune system, I used to say, I've got such a weak immune system. All you had to do was look at me, and if you had a cough or a cold or a sickness, I would get it. But it's not because I was catching it off other people. It's because I was sick already. I was emotionally sick.
That yeah, I've said that like so many times. Like I just have a poor immune system. Like, you know, I just, you know, it was born with a bad immune or whatever, and but it's interesting because it's like, even in saying that, I've always known like that little voice in my head was like, that's not actually true.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what's displaying.
right. But it's like, well, I don't have any other explanation. So there you got it,
And
and
now you do. And now you
yeah,
do have a new explanation. And what you've got to remember is what you tell yourself over and over again is what does become true.
right. Right.
And if
And
you
and I've
that,
and that even in and of itself, and I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't thinking about it, but because so much of my trauma came from me, because I did that. Like, I would take something and internalize it and repeat it to myself, like, well, I'm not worth anything, I'm not this, I'm not that, or I can't, or whatever. And so it was, yeah, it kind of, even if it started from outside of me, it
became
grew
inside.
inside,
Yeah.
because I would just tell myself all these horrible stories, and constantly, for years. And yeah, so that, and of course, in the last, years, and getting into uh energy, understanding energies, and stuff like that, I understand that concept now of, like, okay, well, yeah, it's like that, repeating what we tell ourselves, like, that's what, but right, in the sense of looking at things that need healing, still that, uh even just a forgiveness of that, because I'm good. I don't do that, mm, so much anymore, but I'm a lot more conscious of my thoughts. But it I I feel there's still a connection there to my behavior of the past, and
Absolutely.
um so I'm so glad that you said that, because that, yeah.
Well, that's called self-devaluation. And when you
Mhm.
devalue yourself for long enough, that becomes sickness in the body. You
Mhm.
can't do anything but become sickness in the body because you're out of alignment with your pure, true, authentic, natural, God-given self,
Right.
you know? Um, I was gonna say something else. Um, oh yes, and so if we just finish off here then. So um how long have you been living in the house that you're in at the moment?
This month, I think, will be 6 years. So
Okay.
since November of 2017.
Okay. And then so you said you're feeling like you're fighting something off the last 3 years. So sort of like you'd been there for 3 years-ish. Okay. So here's something else that I always share with people as, something to really understand. Whenever you want to manifest something, whenever you want to create something, whenever you want to make some kind of change in your life, when that is strong enough, when that decision is strong enough, and that like 100% decision has been made, I am creating this, I am creating this business. Think about that. You have made that decision. In order for you to be able to fulfill that, what has to happen? You have to break the conditioning, the thoughts, the mindset, anything that you think and believe about yourself that is not true, that is not conducive to you creating that thing. All of those things have got to come up in order for you to heal, so that you can grow and evolve into the person that creates the thing.
Right. Yeah.
So all of that, it has to come up. And the way that I describe it is, anything that is unlike that which you want to create or manifest has to show up. It will show up. And that's why you find people who go, right, that's it, I'm going to do this, this is it, I'm on it, I believe in myself, I'm going for it. Something happens and then they go down there, it's not meant to be, I've done it all wrong, that, and then they give up. But no, that has you have had to be confronted by that thing, whatever it was. And it can be in your personal life, it can be in your business life, it can be in your relationships. Like that thing will show up somewhere in your life, and sometimes it's not even related to the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Right, because talking about the disempowering and all this, I also remember it's like, oh, this issue last summer of when my mother-in-law moved in for a time, and it was horrible, but it made me feel like I had no power or worth in my own home as the woman of the house, not just as like, well, this is where I live, but as the woman of the house, like I had no power and no worth and all this. So it's, even with that, it's like, I see, yeah, and that had nothing to do with anything business or anything, and I, it was an incredibly difficult situation at the time and all, but even within that, stepping just out of it, where I was like, okay, this is a lesson, this is an experience, this is something to a catalyst of some, and but I see how even that plays into like, yeah, all of this, as that, the boundaries and and all, and not saying yes when I really fucking mean no, and or at least question it, or like, let's look at this before I say yes or whatever, and all that. So yeah, and that absolutely nothing to do with my business and what I'm trying to do in that, but it does, right? Because I am my business, and I'm
exactly
right.
It's like everywhere you go, there you are. I can't remember who said that. I can't remember if it was Khalil Gibran or whether it was who said that, but it is just so true. It's like everywhere you go, there you are. And so no matter where you go, like, you are the one that is like controlling everything.
Right, you can't run away from yourself. Like, you can run away from a situation, but you can't run away from yourself. So in essence, the situation's going to follow, because in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, this work, it takes you've got to take a really good look at yourself. And it's not to look at yourself with judgment or criticism or blame, or to use it as an opportunity to attack yourself more. It's like, no, let's look where I'm not in alignment with my truth. Let's look where I am not in alignment with the purity and the innocence of who I am, because ultimately that is where we're all trying to get back to. That's it. That's where we're all trying to get back to, that state of being self and being pure and being a true embodiment of you. And if we are out of alignment, then we've got to look. And sometimes it's hard, because we don't want to admit that we did stupid shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
man, I did some stupid shit. But okay. okay, that's where I was.
Right.
And it's okay, because this is where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm on path. And
Right.
I'm in the process. You are in the process of becoming that empowered leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So deep breath.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Good. Little tender, but good. And it just feels so good to feel like I I guess in a sense have answers. I mean, there's work to do, but it's like I'm not in this I don't know what the fuck's going on zone, like I have been like literally for years now, and yeah, so just having this like, okay, I see it, and I can take this, and like you said, just start working on it piece by piece, and that will address not only the emotional and all that, but also the physical. Um and yeah, so that is like light at the end of the tunnel. Essentially it's like uh and just think, and it you know really fills me up in that, um I think, what is it, my uh I don't know, whichever part of the chart, but that like my um purpose is to fulfill my purpose,
Yeah.
that drive. And so it's like I feel as at the moment, as scary or cringy as the thought of being a leader, stepping up into that is, there's also this like relief of, but I see how to do that now. And and that makes me happy, because if that's my purpose, it's one of the biggest things that resonates with me in my chart, is that, right, like my entire life I've just been driven by purpose, and uh I just want to fulfill whatever it is that I'm supposed to do, and uh so, right, it's like kind of that, uh I, I see how it's possible to get there, and not, I guess, not fake it, right? Not just, hop up on the podium as the leader and like, I don't want to be here, but like actually embrace it and embody it, and um in a genuine way, and knowing that it's good and I'm supposed to be there, and you know uh
Well, the thing is, when you start responding, healthily responding, and you're coming from a place of emotional alignment and physical integrity, when you respond, your sacral is naturally going to take you to the places and the people that you need to go to. And so it's almost like you don't have to know where to go or who to lead right now. Your job is to do the healing work so that your sacral has a release of energy, and so that your sacral can guide you, so that you can be guided by your sacral to where you've got to go. But
right,
the universe, in its infinite wisdom, isn't going to take you anywhere until you've got the energy to be able to lead the people. Because if you haven't got the energy to lead the people, you can't lead. It's as
right,
simple as that.
right,
And so it's like one foot in front of the other. Where am I right now? Where are you right now? And the most important thing is to stop fighting inside your body and to start bringing yourself back into a place of equilibrium, homeostasis, so that you can gain more energy, be in that manifesting generator energy, to be able to lead the people. And the thing is, like, you don't have to figure that out.
Right.
Your
Right.
head will want to, because you've got an open head, and your
Right.
root is going to feel the pressure to do a load of shit that you don't need to do. But it's like, you know, just bringing yourself back. Well, what is in front of me right now? And if you can feel something in your glands and in your ears, it's like, right, okay, like, sit down and do some journaling work. Let your body talk to you. Like, do some healing work, you know?
Yeah.
And like really giving yourself that space. And like with this too, which is all about integration, and you got part of the integration channel, it's like, you know, you're being given this gift of having to take time out to allow the integration process. And, you know, with this 3410, like, you've got this magnetic aura busting energy, which brings the people in, which people, like, you know, are just going to be like magnetized towards. And then the 6 is the role model. When you're going to be in that phase of being the role model, it's like, you don't have to do anything to be the role model, because you've spent the, you know, all these years doing your healing work, and people are just going to see, there's Amaran.
Right.
Like,
Right. And that's just, right. If I've done all my work, then I just become the role model.
exactly.
It's not like a choice of like, I'm going to do this now. It's like, it just is, and it just happens. But it's that, right. I have to do the foundational work. I have to do my own healing and clearing out, you know, in my own journey. And yeah, when I reach that, then it's just, yeah, it's not something that I have to do at that point. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So
Well,
do you have any questions?
no, this has been absolutely amazing, very incredibly powerful. Thank you. And I'll just say how you took the different, how you made a full story out of the different parts is very helpful, very powerful, of, you know, seeing, you know, not just looking at, you know, this or that, but seeing, like, you know, oh yeah, how this can relate to that, and weaving it into a cohesive fabric of me, you know, if you will, is very helpful the way you did it, instead of just, you know, okay, yeah, just like look, you know, because I can dive in and like look in the books, it's like, oh, read all the things about this gate or whatever, but it just is so helpful to see it in relation. It's like, oh, well, how does this act with this, and um you know, how everything's just related. Of course, you know, we all know that it's like, it's all related, but yeah, it was very, very helpful.
Oh, good. I'm
And
so
yeah.
happy. I'm so happy. And that's actually the beauty of getting to the level 4, where you know, you just bring all those pieces together. And also, like, being aware that there are so many layers and there's so much depth, but also allowing yourself to be intuitively guided to what, you know, to what the person needs. And that does come, I think, I mean, obviously, you know, your own intuitive ability, but that does come from going through all 3 levels. And that's what Karen says, when you get to level 4, this is about synthesizing the chart.
Right.
It's about pulling all those pieces together, and it's about looking like, you know, because she says, you know, the themes will show up over and over again in the charts, like, and they do.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the story's there in the charts, and I can't read your chart to somebody else because it won't resonate.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, every reading that I've done, it's like, yeah, that is that person.
Right.
It's uncanny, you know, and so beautiful, and just wow. Like, and that's why I do really love human design, and, you know, and all that it has to offer.
Yeah.
So
Well, and yeah, it just makes me want to get to level 4. Because like, oh, I want to be able to like do this same, I mean, just, you know, how it feels being on the receiving end of this it's like, yeah, I want to be able to,
I want to be there.
right, like I want to do that, yeah.
I know. Well, that's what I was like. That's what I was like. I like, rushed through everything kind of thing. Well, actually, I've done it over 2 years, so it's all good. So, do you want any guidance with any of the healing work to look at, or do you think you're good with that? Because obviously, I'm going to give you the recording so you can go through that. I just want to make sure that you feel like you've got something that you can take away with you to actually work on. Do you feel like you've got that if you just have the recording, or do you feel like you want something more, something additional?
I feel good. I said, if you have some EFT resource that you just love to share with people, I would not turn that down, but I am familiar with it, and have resources myself. But yeah, no, I feel like I have a solid grasp on what I need to do, and how I can do it, and knowing, yeah, between that and the writing and other tools that I have, but it just, even just that understanding of the shifting focus from this is a physical issue to more the energetic, emotional, spiritual kind of thing. And so it's like, okay, so I can shift energy kind of off of that into, right, let's do some EFT, let's and focusing in that area instead. And so no, I feel like I have a good understanding of what to do and why and how. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what I will say is watch the video, watch the recording, and then if you've got any questions, come back to me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just send me and just, let me know, and we can either jump on another call or do it over email or whatever works for you.
Awesome.
All right,
Perfect.
my sweets.
Thank you so much.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
so much. This is amazing and powerful and helpful, and yes, you're awesome, but you know that.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you so much. Well, I'm so happy that you've loved it, and I can't wait to see you again.
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right, sweetie. Bye.
All right. Bye.